Well, hi. This is, another episode of what is Pancake Marathon, where, essentially, what is your rehydration level, right? The marathon. And essentially, what is your ingredient upon itself? Simply to say, it's up to you. Yet, welcome, one and all, to Pancake Marathon. So today, I guess I kind of want to talk about letting go. There's I don't know. Like, there's so many points of just letting go, living life on life's terms, and letting it be. You know, Anonymity upon itself, in and of itself, is in a simple way of looking at it, is to let it be nameless, right? Let it be nameless. Okay. Well, if it's nameless, then aren't you just letting go? Letting go of what could be the past, simply to say of whatever it may be, an expectation, which, simply to say an expectation on somebody else is a demand. And, as I like to kind of word things as, is, only really narcissists are really good at demanding things. And yet at the same time, they are so ordinary, they can't stand how extraordinary you are. And there's a point though of letting go of expectations upon others, right? Because only expectations really work for who? You. Same as with control. Same with, you know, what word am I trying to say right now? Expectations, control, and forgiveness. Right. Forgiveness is such a big thing. Yet, that's a big part of letting go. Absolutely. Just let it go. Letting go is such an important part about recovery. Simply to say, yes, you can try to carry the message to those that are still sick and suffering. Yet, to simply say, can you though? Yeah, you can try. Because in recovery, it does take two. It really, really does. And, simply to say, what it comes down to is, it. See, I don't really exactly know what I'm trying to say right now. I don't have this thought process in and of itself. In a way, this is just me praying, right? Which is communicating. And in a way, I'm just letting go. Because it's been a moment to make a podcast and stuff like that. And I know it's all about your foundation. It really, really is. Your foundation's everything, right? That's kind of why, I picked Pancake Marathon as a thing. Absolutely. It really, really is. It really does come down to what ingredient, what step, what tradition, what principle. There's 36 principles, and I meant to say promises before I said the principle kind of thing. Yet, it really comes down to what principle are you using in your affair, right? To get you through to the next moment, to be able to do the next right thing, starting when you're at. That's really the only place that you really can start at, is to let go of whatever else, what it might be that's holding you back, which essentially we can simply say is yourself. You know, like for example, like if I was to say, oh, well, I don't have a topic really in my mind's eye per se, right? And I don't have a script, right? And I'm not sure what I'm going to say, so I'm not going to do it. Well, what happens if we can simply say, Bill W. and the doctor said the same exact thing? What kind of is that? Are they letting go? Or are they trying to control everything? Right? I mean, like, it really does simply come down to the very simple fact that if Bill W didn't do what they did, and they were reaching 100% perfection, then what does that really mean? What does that really mean? Nobody. Maybe. I mean, anybody can do it, right? Yet, it only takes somebody to let go, to not reach 100% perfection. There's the saying in recovery is 24 hours, you know, take it 24 hours. Yet, isn't that more like a guru kind of thing? Somebody that's really been in recovery? It's really about moment by moment. And even though there are those that are in recovery, and they, you know, as, quoting somebody from the halfway house that I'm in, right? And I haven't heard them say it in a moment, actually, yet they kind of hinted at it a little bit, and others are like, oh, but simply to say, not everything is going to be peaches and cream, right? It really is not. There's not always going to be the rainbows and butterflies and everything, right? You know, I did have, and I am going to say it right now, of this, this metaphor or what it may be, right? This parable, what it, words, what, you just gotta let it go and do it, right? Don't reach 100% perfection, right? Maybe, just maybe, sharing, right? Which to me, sharing is you healing yourself. And a program is really you. And that's the bottom line upon itself. That's a simplest matter of fact that you have to offer, to give, you know. Because if you keep trying to reach 100% perfection before you reached 80, then what's going on? Are you trying to control too much? Maybe you are. Maybe you're not letting go enough. Maybe it's the, xenophobia, right? The fear, the phobia of the unknown, right? And oh, I get it. Like, oh, from a spiritual standpoint, like opening the door, like, I don't know what phobia would be called, and it's not like that I'm agoraphobia, right? The phobia of going outside, right? Yet maybe it's kind of like that, and it's, yet, you know, the point of what that I'm saying now is that, opening that door is like, yeah, that's my now moment. Oh, okay, but what if it's somebody's 2 weeks from my yesterday, right? And so, you know, that kind of goes into letting go, right? Well, what if it is? And what if it's not? But what if it's both, right? You know, with this being a spiritual program, anything and everything's possible. The religious part about the program upon itself is the setup. Did you ever think that there you could be set up in a way of having those that care? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe yet you have come so far and yet you don't see that. And wouldn't that then be why it's a selfish program? Because you have to want it yourself. Absolutely. There's no other way upon it than, doing the first step 100% to admit. So that then once you admit, once you communicate, once you lay down a foundation and stand for something, well, what else is there to do other than keep going? Keep letting go. Getting to a point of unity. And freely giving that unity away. Absolutely. Like, that's really what it comes down to, is unity. Unifying yourself, unifying what is life upon you seeing your beauty, knowing that you do deserve to take up space. Yet, I see it, And you might say, well, you can see me? No, not necessarily. Yet, what is the difference? Isn't it anonymity? Let it be nameless. Let it go. Not that I always relate to every addict, right? We all have different things going on. To be honest, you know, we can say triggers, right? To the point of where it is simply to say, well, I've been in a DV situation, a domestic violence situation. As I come to cope with what it can be as being stated as simply to say that, well, I feel that and feeling is there I the my intuition and higher power saying don't say that, and or is it the simple fact that when you say that you feel things, it's more of a action based boom instant kind of a thing. I don't know yet. Overall, the simple fact of the matter is that in one relationship that I had, it was like they were mentally and verbally abusive, right? Like they forced me to get on medication, and I never wanted to be a pill popper. I never did. I never do, and I don't. Like I don't take medication now. Why? Why? Well, I wanted to see how I could cope without it, right? And yeah, at that moment, it is what it is. It got me to this point. I can't regret that. I'm not gonna say sorry for myself, because to me, that's what sorry is you regret whatever it is, meeting them. Oh, I'm sorry that for your loss, for their death, and it's like I don't regret them though. Thank you for your kindness. I get what your intention is, yet your wording is not in alignment in a sense of what I would word things as. So, tradition 4, well, let it run. Let it be autonomous, except for matters affecting other groups or A as a whole, right? Oh, a whole. Ah, but that's a lot of trust because we are but trusted servants and leaders upon itself, right? And so yet, let's reword tradition 4 and let it run, except for matters where it's focusing on the pain or devaluing something, right? They don't know what I know, right? And there's not always the time and the place and all that kind of stuff to, oh, well, let's go ahead and have a discussion and, communication level to where we can really break this down. Am I going to maybe, yeah. Well, what if there is? What if there is that chance in that moment and I take it, right? And we both, go for it. I don't like to say seize the opportunity because, well, if you don't, seize that day, and it's like, oh, well, what if I don't do it that next moment and the day seizes me? What am I going to do? What? Oh, let go? Oh, yeah, of course. There we go. I like it. Let's go with that. It's kind of funny because, well, okay, so I didn't pause so much for this podcast, right? I just kept going and talking, right? And if I didn't let go and I held on to that anger because, well, it said, well, let's refresh it, right? And then I realized, oh, let's let it save, right? And then I refreshed it, and then it opened it back up. And then there was a point where the part that I just recorded, right? Just recorded, the long thing wasn't appearing as, oh, something that would work, essentially. And, well, I gave it some time. Well, I get to give it some time because what else am I supposed to do, right? Yet if I focused on that anger, and that pain of, oh, I just said all this and I feel that it's great. There's points, lining it up and all that kind of stuff. Yet letting it go And well, it's working. Like, I hope, right? Because there's some other podcast, and I'm like, I have to go and do all this other stuff to make it work. And if you notice, the other ones are always in numbered order, right? It seems like it skips one. It's because I haven't gone and put the work in, basically, to manifest it to work. For whatever reason, it just hasn't happened yet, right? And so, essentially to say, letting that, whatever it is, right, these expectations on others, which, there are some that base that around a point to where it's somebody else that they see as a person or another human being or whatever it may be, right? Another entity upon being in the same level of playing field or whatever it may be, right? I'm super spiritual in a sense of, well, that's what it all is, right? It's a spiritual foundation, practicing the principles in all our affairs. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our principles, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities, all that kind of stuff, right? And so, I mean, it says it right there, and like, it's so funny. It's so funny when you look at the law. Well, that was a premeditated murder. What? You mean they meditated before they did it? Oh, and then you look at parapsychology, which is the law enforcement using their intuition to find things. And if they're meditating and they're using their intuition, well, isn't that a spiritual nodality? I mean, upon itself, absolutely, right? I mean, superly absolute. Like, I mean, like on the level of solace, and it's an atropos and proponent to everything within spirituality upon itself, to simply say, right? I mean, absolute. I mean, the magnanimous level of absolute upon itself. And yeah. Oh my goodness. And, going off of, like, I'm always able to feel and absolutely know from the understanding of wisdom, which wisdom is to know thyself, right? To stand for something, or you're going to fall for anything, right? And so, essentially, with the whole trifecta, which, coming to terms in a sense of this mental and, verbal abuse, right? To where I had to take medication because, like, somehow I was so fearful, right, of being homeless that I didn't want to. And yes, and in the relationship, and I didn't want to be, I guess, at that point, I was still wanting to be with them, right? And yet, it kind of did come down, not so much, not so much, to where I don't want to be the first one to say, ah, ha, 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 I'm ending it, essentially. Because I really did care for them. And in ways I still do, because I appreciate what value they gave to me, right? To always have a cloth, a towel, essentially, to wipe the sink, right? And man, there's points to where, and I've come across these videos, right, where they're saying, well, if you, what is it, the spiritual connection, we can simply say, where if you have sex and get to that level of connection, you will, depending on what it is, it might take lifetimes, it might take 12 years or whatever, essentially, yet everything's at a level of anonymity. Oh, okay, let it be nameless. Oh, you get what you focus on. Oh, everything's energy. Oh, energy can't be destroyed, it could just change form. Oh, so made in the image of, or just a copy, playing out some paradoxical thing where we're acting like we have amnesia so we can know thyself more and all that kind of stuff on that level, right? And yet, so then I got to a point where that ended, essentially. And then, the trifecta of, what was that, verbal? Oh, mental, oh, and then physical, right? And so the reason why I said the whole, level of connection with sex and all that kind of stuff is to the point where it essentially it being triggered, right? And going off the whole other kind of thing where it's the to the point where it's it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how it's formed or what shape or whatever it may be, right? Everything's energy and everything's a vibration. And, colors, kind of are the name in a sense of what it can be and, what it may be, right? But essentially, the simple way of, conceptualizing that ice cube and the infinite thing of water, which is, the creator of all, right? Something you can't grasp only through what you can, and you can only grasp it when you get to a point where you know what you know, and what you don't know until you know, right? And so so being able to be triggered, right? You gotta let it go. You gotta let that hurt go. You gotta live on life's terms. You gotta let live and give it to God, knowing that God doesn't make any junk, right? And God, oh no, it's not religious. That's just a word to sum up what it can be. It's like the same thing as saying refrigerator, right? It really is, Oh, well, I just said 50 words by saying one word. What do I mean? It's a fridge. You know where it is. You know what it does. You know how it operates. You know how to utilize it. You know how to break it if you don't shut the door, right? There's so many points. Yet, so it always comes down to the simple fact of letting it go. You don't have to make the past your future, and really that's no future at all if you're making yourself into building walls where you're trying to one up yourself because you're trying to go up instead of just keep going, right? It's a marathon. You don't climb buildings in marathons, right? Maybe you do. Hey, I'm not knocking the could be or wherever it is, and isn't that whole American Ninja, and I really like the Chinese version of American Ninja, right? Because it's not just all physical, right? It's actually mental and physical, right? They gotta go run up some stairs, and they gotta go cross this whatever, and they gotta do something, and then they gotta figure out the color of the primary color, and then they gotta do something else, and then they gotta figure out this math problem. After all that, it's like, yeah, so simply to say in a simple way of saying, there's three kinds of sobriety, right? There's physical, there's emotional / mental, right? And then there's spiritual. Some could say that there's four, because there's physical, there's emotional, then there's mental, then there's spiritual, right? And so, yeah, isn't it supposed to be kept simple? And really, physical is one thing. Mental, emotional, they're the same thing. Absolutely. And spiritual, well, that's its own thing as well, right? Step 1 through 3 is about your physical. Step 4 is a blending of your physical and your emotional / mental. Step 5 through 8 is all about your emotional and your mental. And step 9 is a blending of your emotional and your mental and your emotional / mental, right? Oh, my goodness. Let's go back to the fridge thing. Keep it simple, right? And so, so step 9 essentially is your emotional and a blending of your spiritual. And step 10 through 12 is all about your spiritual, right? How do you spiritually add to your currency or your, dharma of, spirituality? Do something for somebody else without any expectation, right? Something nice, do the right thing, right? Just because you're the one seeing yourself. like your HP, yeah, your higher power, your higher self, higher plane of existence, higher person at this point, right? You know, yet you are never alone. You are with you. I'm just saying, you are the one seeing yourself. So unless you don't count yourself as someone, and you count yourself as nobody, then there's so many points, and it's like, oh, nobody's gonna be able to do this. Well, I guess if you count yourself as nobody, then you're qualified, and you're gonna be able to do it, right? And I'm just saying, yeah. So essentially, letting go is so valuable. See, if I did not let go and didn't just show up, right? Because that's what it's really about. Letting go and showing up and finding that sense of unity and being able to share a message, right? Tradition 5, right? Each group has one primary purpose: to carry its message. Through Tradition 4 and upon Tradition 5, we see basically in Tradition 4 that a group and a fellowship are not the same thing, right? What's a fellowship's primary purpose? To give a safe haven, a place where everyone can feel valued and everybody has something to offer because it's spiritual. Everything has value. Everything is valuable. Absolutely. Yet if you focus on the pain and you don't let it go, and that group, that basic, I don't know how many people they killed because they didn't want outside issues, which, what happened? Tradition 5 kicked in, right? And NA was created, right? It wasn't AA that killed anybody. I let that resentment go so long ago because I know the reservation of the setup of the steps are, something valuable. And so, yeah, so that's my message, in a sense, to be an active part of my recovery. Every moment, like I is in a halfway house right now, and a 3/4 house, part of it, right? I'm 3/4 of the way there to a full house, right? To we can say the quote unquote real world, which the agreed upon world of society is not the real world. Trees produce oxygen, that's real. The whole saying, oh, you gotta buy something, and we're playing the word spell game, and, well, your currency, but you, through your sweat equity, blah, 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 blah. It's like, really? I mean, like, logically, we could put, like, in Arizona, there's the canals, and, well, why can't we put something over the canals where it constantly makes water? What? Or in any ocean land connection, well, we can go ahead and take all of the fog, which is water, right? Suck it in, or whatever it would be, however it would be, and then collect it that way. Oh, there's fresh water already. Oh, right. Yet, if you focus on that pain, because I know there's points where I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, I drove myself insane going through a whole spiritual awakening of, oh, I'm a starseed, and oh, well, you're doing it the wrong way, and there's other ways, and it's like, oh, well, I don't have all this energy anymore to do something for myself, to take care of myself, right? I didn't let go enough. I tried to control too much. I was going against Tradition 4, trying to do Tradition 5, ultimately not really upholding Tradition 1. And, well, yeah, was I doing the Promise 1? I was painstaking, and half amazed before I was halfway through. Absolutely, right? Because I still hear, that was the past, okay. And yet, simply to say, yeah, there's points, right? A society that uses war and hurts and doesn't get everything where they can get a chance to, contribute to the community, and then have, like, 3 moments or 4, moments of whatever it may be. I'm attempting not to say time or, days, right? And being weak at the end to where you get put in an urn because you lived in a box already. There's so many points. Yet, because I am absolutely superiorous Absolutely magnanimous in connecting the dots in everything. Why? Because simply simultaneously one thing is happening at the same time. Simply simultaneously one thing is happening at the same time. And that mantra allowed and helped me get to this point of connecting the dots so super easily, right? I mean, it's so easily there. I mean, like premeditated. Oh, parapsychology. Oh, you need television programming? Oh, it's programming? Oh, it's telling lies to your vision? Oh, yet, there's points to where if you don't let go of that hurt, right? Like Batman, never let go of that hurt. And look what they do. They're seen as a hero, but they're really not. Point of view and entertainment value. So if you don't ask more questions, it's really your fault that you accepted whatever truth you were told how to think, because maybe you never got a chance to get encouraged to think for yourself. Okay, we can all say Rockefeller wanted, employees, not, you know, people that think for themselves, right? Kind of going absolutely against the original founding fathers, the revolutionaries. Yeah, anywho. And so maybe, oh no, I don't want to hear any more about this. I've stopped it before any of that. Okay, well, you do you, right? I'm just pointing out simple facts of, this is my life. Recovery. This is my message. To be an active part of your recovery. That this is a spiritual program, that you don't have to talk like anybody else. Yet, if you don't let go and you hold on to all these expectations, which upon somebody else, other, regardless of what it is, it's a demand, right? You're trying to control the situation too much. Let it go. Stop it. You don't have to do that. You get it? You don't have to. But are you going to change your ways? Well, progress along spiritual lines. Absolutely every single time.
follow you wherever you go. Stay close to you, 'cause darling, you're my home.